I am Angie Ham, a volunteer with AARP Texas, and I am pleased to welcome you to an exciting event that is part of our celebration for Hispanic Heritage Month. Every year from September 15th to October 15th, we take the time to recognize and appreciate all the contributions that Hispanics and Latinos contribute to our communities. And this year, we're celebrating in a big way with a variety of free virtual events. So you'll get a chance to learn about our Brownsville history, cooking, gardening classes, while learning different aspects of self-care that you can work on all from the comfort of your own home. These videos, culinary events, historical readings, and more are among some of our presentations that will bring to life our proud Hispanic culture. I also want to tell you that AARP is here to help you and your families navigate through this pandemic. So we're encouraging you to get the free COVID-19 vaccine so you can protect yourself, your children, your grandchildren. And for many of you, there'll be an opportunity soon to get the booster shot to ensure you stay protected from the deadly coronavirus. We want you to have information that you can trust. Learn more by visiting www.aarp.org/vaccinefacts. Thank you, and let's get on with today's presentation.
I'm excited to have with us today our special guest, Daniel Sanchez, who is a retired teacher from Brownsville Independent School District and who's also an amateur photographer from Brownsville. Thank you so much for joining me today, Daniel, as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here with you.
Yes. So my first question for you, Daniel, is how did you get started in photography? How did it start off for you?
You know, I was just telling my boys that my very first credit card charge was back in college, and I told them my very first charge to try and establish credit as I was getting going with my college career was a camera. Mm-hmm. And that was what got me going. I liked photography, and I bought a camera, and I kind of dabbled, like a hobby. And it wasn't until about probably 8-10 years ago that I started getting serious and say, hey, you know what? I can, I would love to take better photos. So I started investing more money in, better equipment. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another. Friends knew that I took photos, and hey, can you take a birthday photo of my daughter? And that went into quinceañeras, and little by little, it just kind of turned into a little side business. My love is nature, photography, and outdoors, wildlife, and stuff like that. So, that's kind of like my off time, my relaxing hobby on the side.
I know you capture such beautiful photos, and I have one behind me, but my head is kind of blocking it right now. And it's a lovely picture of a red cardinal that you took in your own backyard, actually.
Yes.
Daniel, you were diagnosed with appendix cancer in 2018. Can you share a little bit about what took place at that time and how your journey came about?
Yes, it started in August of 2018 when doctors suspected that there was something unusual going on with me. So I was referred up to MD Anderson Cancer Hospital in Houston. And so within a month, I was started on their treatment plan, which involved intravenous chemotherapy with the eventual goal of getting me to surgery to remove these cancerous tumors that were all over my abdominal cavity. So your world changes in the blink of an eye. And, I've heard so many stories of people like that. They look so healthy, and all of a sudden, they're gone in a matter of weeks or months. That's not God's plan for me. I have so much to live for. I'm not ready for that.
Right, exactly. What made you want to document your treatment process?
I decided to make my journey very public in the hopes of hopefully helping others along the way who might be experiencing cancer diagnosis with themselves or with family and friends. I figured if I can share what I'm learning along the way, then I'm making something positive come out of my situation.
You and I met through your sister, Sylvia, and we both are cancer patients at MD Anderson.
There's just a special connection when you meet someone who's battled cancer, who's a survivor, who's undergoing therapy. There's just a natural connection because we can relate. I see your photos when you go up to MD Anderson, and I know that you see mine. So, we can relate. I know what you're going through, and you know what I'm going through.
So how did you stumble across chronicling the expansion of SpaceX?
You know that I've always been fascinated with space travel growing up and astronomy. My dream had always been to go watch a space shuttle launch back in the 80s. Of course, that never happened. I was in college at the time. But when I heard that SpaceX was coming down to the valley, I thought, wow, that's going to be exciting if one day they're launching rockets. And lo and behold, last year, it was the beginning of that dream come true for me. It literally is happening in our backyard. So I said, this is the perfect opportunity for me to put my photography skills to good use and start documenting some of that through my photography, some of the stages as they progress towards their ultimate goal of launching one of these starships to the moon and to Mars.
Can you describe your photography thought process while you're shooting out at Boca Chica Beach and at SpaceX?
I go out there knowing that there's always a possibility of catching something unique happening. I've been out there when they're moving tanks. I've seen some of these Starship prototypes being rolled down the highway. It was just happened to be good timing on my part, just good luck. I go out there, I try and find some interesting angles, and I try and capture some unique images that kind of convey what's going on out there. It's a really neat thing that's going on out there, and I find it very exciting. Sometimes I'll plan it out to where I go out there about an hour or so before sunrise, and I'll take some light trail photos of the Starbase sign. Oh, this is one of my favorite types of photos to take. In a nutshell, it's a long exposure, about a 8 to 10 second exposure, and the camera's set on a tripod, and I use the remote trigger to set off the shutter. And the red light streaks that you see there are actually cars passing by. So it's really neat how the camera will capture the lights, but not the actual vehicle itself. So it creates these unique and very interesting photos. And then I'll move over to Boca Chica Beach just before sunrise. And there's all kinds of wildlife out there. I've shot photos of coyotes out on the flats, a lot of birds, the sunrise, of course, which is really neat when I can get some beautiful sunrise images. And then as the sunlight starts hitting the Starship and the launch site area, I move over and take photos of that. It's kind of like a triple bonus when I go out there at sunrise. It's really fun. I enjoy it. This particular photo right here is of two of the Starship prototypes, and it's actually the only time that SpaceX has ever had two of these prototypes up on these launch mounts at the same time. So I was really lucky to capture some of these images of these two prototypes. This is a photograph of SN20 and booster number 4, which is the silver metallic object off to the left. And SN20 is being stacked up on top, which was a very historic event because this is the first time that the world got to see the enormous size of these rockets once they're stacked and prepped for eventual launch, which should be coming up in the near future. This photo here, we're looking at SN number 15 and number 16. 15 was the one that first one that made that successful landing. And for a while there, they had plans to launch it up again, but eventually they decided to just hold on to it. And the other one was built, but never flown. So they're in a static display at the launch site.
Wow, this is so fascinating. So what is going on right here at this point?
Oh, this is the apogee. This is where the rocket is reaching its highest point of its flight, and it's getting ready to shut off its engines and then begin. It's literally free falling, and it's using its flaps to guide its way back to the launch site. So it's really neat to watch it do its free fall. And this is the most nerve-wracking part of the flight because the rockets have to fire up in order to have a successful landing. So everybody started cheering when the engines fired up, and everybody was holding their breath and cheering as it landed. And then there was pause. I could hear everybody just kind of went silent because of the smoke. In real time, it just covered up, so we couldn't see what was going on until some of that smoke cleared up and we could see some flames. So everybody was worried. Everybody was holding their breath, hoping that nothing, that fire would be put out. And so we waited. Everybody was talking, excited. Everybody was cheering because it had landed and we could see it sitting there. But we were all concerned about those flames. But eventually they get turned out and everybody breathed a sigh of relief. But nobody knew what was going to happen about 5 or 6 minutes later. It was successful because it was the first prototype that successfully landed. It just had a minor hiccup there towards the end. When I noticed some gentlemen out by the wreckage, and right away I recognized that was Elon Musk. And I thought, man, this is a chance of a lifetime to get some photos of him.
You know, you were honored, when was this, back in May and then again in June with one of the local galleries in downtown Brownsville. What was it like to be amongst all of these aerospace engineers that have come out, and are living out at Boca Chica Beach?
It was an honor to be selected, to be invited to be a part of this SpaceX gallery. That was kind of like a compliment to me. That group photo we're looking at is all the photographers that participated in the Brownsville to Mars SpaceX exhibit. One of the highlights, one of the people that I did get to meet was Sam Patel, who's the director of operations there for SpaceX here in Brownsville. So he's Elon Musk's right-hand man down here. He's the one who runs the show and makes things happen here. Wow. Very nice young man, very down to earth, very, very easy to talk to.
Having been through your cancer journey and seeing how well you've done, how has this, I say, SpaceX therapy and going out to, photograph the prototypes, how has that helped you?
I think it helps your mental mindset, your emotions. I think have so much to do with your physical well-being, and being out there. It's relaxing to me. I'm out there outdoors. It's relaxing. It just calms me down. And if I'm calm at my heart mental level, I think it helps my body heal and deal with my cancer situation. I'm on chemotherapy medication, and it does tire me out, but I think it helps. It's inspiring, and it gives me one more reason to keep my chin up and my hopes up, and that everything's going to be fine. It gives me one more reason to wake up and enjoy life.
Well, you've definitely been an inspiration to a lot of people, even me, in watching you go through your cancer journey. So one last question. What does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you?
It's very important that we celebrate the accomplishments of Hispanics and Latinos because, I think they serve as role models for a young generation of kids that are growing up. It's good for them to see that, they can be anything they want. Stars, the limit, not the sky, but the stars. And I think SpaceX, for example, is going to inspire a lot of our young kids to go into engineering, aerospace, and I'm sure we might have some future astronauts down the road that were inspired by what's happening here locally, and Hispanics, that are out there being, with these professional jobs, so they can see that, he did it and she did it, and I can also. They have somebody to look up to, somebody to inspire them, let them know, reassure them that, anything's possible. You just have to work for it. Set your mind that you can do it and believe in yourself.
Well, Daniel, again, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your lens into this such historic viewpoint that is SpaceX. And I can't wait to see what your next photos are going to look like. So I hope everyone enjoyed our Facebook Live event as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you once again to Daniel Sanchez for all of our events. Check out our AARP page at AARP Texas. I'm Veronica de la Fuente with AARP Texas, and this concludes our Facebook Live for this afternoon.